Hey, Dwayne, did you hear that Happy Valley in China just filed a trademark for Ride with Wheels over a field of azure?
No, I didn't.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Beat the Beast, where news races the beast. A few weeks ago, we took you guys on a journey through all the rumors at that point for the 2016 season, and the response to that episode has been overwhelming. So actually, we have a whole bunch of new rumors that have come up with other parks that we are beginning to get ideas of what may or may not be happening for the 2016 season. So this week, once again, we are going to go over the rumors surrounding 4 new parks. But before we get into that, let me introduce myself. I am, of course, Andrew Barchak from Chicago, Illinois, joined once again by Dwayne Sponseller from Parkersburg, West Virginia. So the 4 parks that we're going to be dealing with this week are Six Flags Great Adventure, King's Dominion, Dorney Park, and Carowinds. Now, there have been some rumors over the last few weeks for all of these parks, and we're going to use the same exact format that we used last time for the rumor show, and it's going to be buy or sell. So, Dwayne, if you could take a second to explain the buy or sell concept for the listeners.
Yeah, just real quick, just like last time, we're going to bring up a park, and we're going to talk about the rumor that could be added into the park. Could be an expansion, could be a ride, could be a coaster. And then we're going to decide whether we are going to buy that rumor, meaning we actually think that that rumor is going to come to fruition, it's going to be truth, and it's going to happen, and then we'll buy it. If we're going to sell it, that means we think something else is going to happen, or it's just not going to happen at all.
So, and as always, we're only going to have 4 minutes and 10 seconds to discuss each park, and the 4 minutes and 10 seconds does represent the ride time of the classic wooden coaster at Kings Island, the Beast. So let's get into our first topic here. So we are going to start the clock now. And the first rumor out there comes from Six Flags Great Adventure that we see some walls being put up. We see that there is some possible construction that is being planned, and is being planned for the towards the back of the park by the Blackbeard's roller coaster, and specifically around the stadium that they haven't really been utilizing a lot lately. So there's the stadium, and all indications point to that stadium being torn down this very soon, and that a new roller coaster will probably be put there. Remember, the last new roller coaster that Six Flags Great Adventure got, a brand new installation, was El Toro. And so the park is somewhat due for a new coaster, and a lot of people out there are pointing at the S&S Free Fly model that was just installed down at Fiesta, Texas, as Batman the Ride, that maybe that will be the new coaster for Six Flags Great Adventure. Now, of course, they're saying that the Fiesta Texas model is a little bit small, that this Great Adventure model, to fit the clientele and to fit the size of the park, would probably be expanded upon and be much larger. So, Dwayne, for this S&S Free Fly model at Six Flags Great Adventure, do you buy or sell this rumor?
I am completely going to buy it. If they're due for a coaster, everyone has been giving good reviews about the one down in Texas, the Batman, 4D down there. And I just think for a park like this, and I know I've never been there, so I can't really, go far into this as much as you can, but I always hear that it's completely packed, that the lines are extremely long. A lot of times there's one coaster operation. So this would just kind of add into that. And even though those coasters tend to be a little bit of a capacity issue, it seems like the right plan for this park. And if Six Flags wants to, continue on with the legacy of what they do at all the parks, if that one was a success down there, why not do one in the Northeast where we can have people who obviously liked, the RMC coaster that was just put in that same area, not the same park. Maybe they'll get a kick out of this one as well. So I'm definitely going to buy that this is actually going to happen.
Even though I think it's an attractive option and the capacity thing, like they put a Zach spin over at Magic Mountain, which is a capacity nightmare. So obviously that doesn't really, it actually improves their Flash Pass sales if you go that route. But even though I really think that it might happen, I'm still going to sell this one. And I'm going to sell it based on an optimistic opinion that maybe the free fly is not the way to go at Great Adventure. I'm actually hoping that S&S is going to install a full-on 4D coaster, a lot like X2 at Magic Mountain and the 4D coasters that S&S has installed over in China. I'm hoping that they're going to go on and put a full-on 4D coaster in Great Adventure. I think that would be a much bigger hit. Yes, it's going to cost more money, but really Six Flags hasn't been really spending a ton of money over the last few years. I won't say they cheaped out, but they saved a lot of money on the Larson loops. The RMC conversions are only $10 to $15 million. They haven't really installed that major, full circuit coaster in some time. I think this might be the year, and I'm hoping that Six Flags Great Adventure gets a 4D coaster. The free fly is probably the more likely. I'm still going to sell the rumor, but I'm going to go with the 4D coaster. And that time, we just came right under the timer and beat it by a few seconds. So we did indeed beat the beast that time. But moving on to the next rumored park. And that one we're going to talk about is King's Dominion. So if we could once again start that clock to see if we can beat the beast. And there you have it. At King's Dominion, there's a dual rumor going on that it's going to be a B&M coaster being installed there for 2016. That they took out Shockwave. Some people are saying that they might be able to utilize the Shockwave area for this. I don't think that's the case. The heavy rumor is that it's going to be a wing coaster, that we know that the Cedar Fair execs have said multiple times that they want to redo all the front entrances of all the parks, and they haven't done a wing coaster since Gatekeeper, since 2013, in any of the Cedar Fair parks. So a lot of people are pointing to King's Dominion getting a wing rider. Some people say it might be a hyper. We're not quite sure. That there's a side rumor, but we're going to stick to the wing rider rumor at King's Dominion for 2016. Dwayne, what do you feel about this one?
Well, this one I'm kind of torn, because the more and more I read into this rumor, if you think about a compact wing rider like an X-Flight at Six Flags Great America, you could probably put a nice little wing rider in that space where Shockwave was. Now, it's kind of right in the middle of the midway, and it's kind of intersecting the top part of King's Dominion to the low part of King's Dominion. And so it would be okay, but I'm not so sure that that's the direction that they want to go. So I'm going to sell it. And by selling it, I'm going to say that King's Dominion is not going to get anything at all. Although it's been a while since I-305 and really even farther since they brought Dominator in. But is this park, does it have enough clientele to bring in something big like a Fury 325? I know you questioned that about Charlotte. and Fury 225 going down there to that clientele. But does Doswell, Virginia, which is still a few hours away from Washington, D.C., really Richmond, Roanoke, biggest cities around, does that really have the clientele for something big? So I'm thinking that this park, they've had I-305. I know it's been a few years since that, but I'm going to say they're not going to get anything at all.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because, I had the experience of riding I-305 for the first time, and the thing that really shocked me about I-305 is that generally people did not like it getting off the ride, that they would ask, how was your ride? And generally there wasn't a huge response to that. And I don't know if it's because it's a bunch of locals who have been on it multiple times, so they're not really super excited about it, or if it's legitimately too intense for some people. So maybe a wing rider or a hyper would fit nicely into that park to even it out, to give the park something that's very tall and very fan friendly, because B&Ms normally are fan friendly. I'm still going to sell this rumor, just like you. I don't believe that King's Dominion is going to get a huge investment this year. I think it's a park though, like unlike Charlotte, that's kind of like out there. I think King's Dominion has a lot going for it, like the places that you mentioned, Richmond, Washington, D.C., but it's also a huge tourist area with Virginia Beach. And obviously Busch Gardens Williamsburg draws people, and maybe they can get some overflow that in the past few years we've seen Busch Gardens and Kings Dominion try to work together to try to like capitalize on the numbers a little bit. But still, I just, even though the rumors are hot and heavy out there with the painting, with people seeing the track at the factory, I still don't believe that King's Dominion is going to get either a hyper or a wing coaster. You can choose your pick there. I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm going to have to sell. And now you see that we lost to the Beast that time. But I'm still going to have to sell that rumor and say that I don't believe that King's Dominion is going to get anything significant. Obviously, I think they're going to get something. And if I had to choose, if I could take a minute here, I think Cedar Fair next year is actually going to have a pipe scream revolution, that I could see a pipe scream going into that shockwave area more so than any other ride. So I think that's what's going to happen at King's Dominion. But moving on. Oh, you want to add something there?
Well, I was just going to say that maybe even an update to that Midway area, just like Cedar Point did, because Gemini and Midway needed to have an update.
Yeah.
That part of the park at King's Dominion really needs an update too.
Yeah, so, they added a few things this year with the Candy Apple Grove, or they added it last year with the Candy Apple Grove. So it has a lot more character to it. It still looks a little dated, though, and I think maybe adding some lights and some stuff like they did, some elements from like the Knott's Boardwalk or the Cedar Fair or the Cedar Point Gemini Midway might really make that Midway something really cool. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. But moving on to our next rumor. The next rumor comes from Dorney Park. So if we could once again start that clock, 4 minutes and 10 seconds. The rumor over at Dorney for a number of years has been the addition of a GCI roller coaster, a wooden coaster. And those rumors kind of hit the fan recently when there were a number of markings being spotted on the ground. And those markings were generally in the area where a lot of people thought a GCI Woody might go. So, Dwayne, how do you feel about the GCI Woody rumor from Dorney Park?
Sell it.
Sell it.
Dorney Park is not a park, again, just like with clientele, where you would put in something like this. Now, granted, Dorney Park has been a long time since anything has gone into this park. They transplant stuff. Of course, we call them the recyclable park for Cedar Fair, where Cedar Fair gets rid of all their rides and sends them down to Dorney. But when you think about it, nothing really big has gone in there. So, again, yes, they're due, but a GCI doesn't make sense in this park to me. I'm going to sell it and say that they're not going to get anything either. And the reason that more and more I've read into this the past week, it seems like people are now kind of gearing towards these markings and all these stakes that they're building the hunt for this upcoming season. So with that, and plus everything else I've read, I'm just going to go off and say they're going to maybe get a pipe screen. If they get anything, it's going to be a small family ride or an update to some area of the park. They're not going to invest into Dorney Park, especially since Cedar Point's definitely getting a coaster and probably maybe one other park. So I'm going to say they're not going to get anything big in regards to a ride at all.
Well, it's a shame. I, too, am going to have to sell this rumor. I was all over this rumor, at the start and very excited about the prospect of Dorney getting a new ride, that they haven't received a brand new installation since Hydra in 2005. Obviously, they received Possessed from Jaga. They received Stinger from Great America. So they've gotten new rides, but they've been used rides. Demon Drop from Cedar Point went there as well. So Dorney Park is really one of those parks that's on the list that if you're talking about a park that deserves something new, it might be Dorney. The only other park that I think can really make a claim is Michigan's Adventure, because they haven't received anything for a very long time. But Dorney is also a very attractive option, and I'm surprised that Cedar Fair hasn't taken Dorney up on that. Because Dorney Park is in the middle of the great metropolitan areas. You have Philadelphia right there. They draw from New York City. Obviously all of Pennsylvania. There's a huge market there for Dorney, and I don't know if it's because they're landlocked. I don't know if it's because they have issues with the local residents and noise complaints, but Dorney seems like a park that should be bigger given where it's at. Like you look at Six Flags Great Adventure, that's only a few hours away. And they're huge. And Dorney is kind of, in this holding pattern of being happy of what it is, being this mid-tier park, where I think Dorney could be a much larger park. And I'm not saying that GCI puts them on the map, but GCI makes it a much more attractive option and really rounds out their collection. That they have Thunderhawk there, which is a very nice Woody that I actually enjoyed a lot. But that's the only other wood coaster they have. I don't see them going the Giga route. I don't know. I just don't see them having the space or being able to work with the local community. And there's the bell again. But I'm going to have to sell that rumor as well, because I just don't see it happening. I think Cedar Fair is going to go on a pipe scream kick next year. So I think that's what we're going to see a lot. The last rumor that we have tonight is emanating from Carowinds. So if we could start that clock once again. And the rumor here, and it started at the Fury Media Day, where they said that they were going to make a big splash next year. And we've seen the box out on by the Carowinds water park. It's a big box that has some stuff hanging out of it. Some, life preserver floaties are coming out of it. So I think the rumor clearly is that they are going to do a water park expansion. And I think the most logical thing is to replicate what King's Dominion did this year. And what King's Dominion did this year was they rebranded their water park into Soak City. And they added 5 new attractions into it, a huge water park expansion. And we also know that Thunder Road is coming out, and that's right next to the water park. So the space is there. So, Dwayne, do you buy or sell the water park expansion for King's Dominion?
Well, it's definitely a park that needs a water park expansion, because when we were there not too long ago, when we were down there riding Fury on our trip, I kind of looked over and said, man, that really is a small water park. I mean, I don't go to water parks very often, but I've been to all of them. And most of the Cedar Fair ones are pretty big. When you think of Kings Island, okay, Cedar Point's gotten a little bit bigger. Obviously, King's Dominion with their big one. I would say that it's Carowinds' turn because it's in the south. It's extremely hot for a long amount of time. People are going to flock to that water park, especially if you bring in some big slides. So I'm going to buy it. I think an expansion so it's maybe sort of like King's Dominion. And if they're taking out Thunder Road to actually put in this expansion, that plus the land that they already have extra there, it could be even a bigger expansion than what King's Dominion got. And so I'm looking for, probably some of the new innovative slides, maybe some of the catapult slides. And the other rumor out there, and just put that out there because I know you're going to talk a little bit about it, is that it could be a water coaster. But now with all these extra hints that we've been seeming to get, that's going much lower on my list of rumors to actually believe. So, again, I'm going to buy it, a complete rebranding and a complete huge expansion of the water park at Carowinds.
Yeah, like you said, the other rumor out there is that it could be a water coaster. On the level of something like, that has real roller coaster track in it. I'm kind of shying away from that rumor. I think it could be more of a water coaster like Wildebeest at Holiday World. That seems like it could be more of an option, maybe a smaller one because those things tend to be a little expensive. So if you're doing a huge water park expansion, maybe putting in a few slides, maybe putting in a smaller water coaster, we really haven't seen Cedar Fair jump into the water coaster market. That the only one I know of at one of their parks is at Castaway Bay, and it is super small. It's a very fun ride, but nothing on the level of a River Rush or a Wildebeest at Holiday World. River Rush is at Dollywood. At their water park. So I'm going to buy this one as well. I think it's going to be a water park expansion, and I think it's going to be very, very similar to what King's Dominion did. King's Dominion did a really nice job with adding a whole bunch of new attractions for various segments of the family, and I think Carowinds, that space that they have for Thunder Road is going to be used for that exactly. And I think it's going to be really, real nice because, like you said, it's really hot down there in the south. So, if they want to drive those season pass sales, I think they really need to expand their water park to get those locals coming in every day to be able to utilize it. And then you see the benefit spill over to everything else. So that time we did indeed beat the beast. This is 2 for 2. And this week I thought we had a lot of good discussion once again on these rumors. As we get closer, we might do even more of these that we've been kind of focusing a lot on Cedar Fair. And that's because those are the strong rumors out there that Cedar Fair traditionally announces a lot sooner than Six Flags does, that Cedar Fair's announcement should be coming up in the next few weeks, whereas Six Flags won't announce until September 3rd. So we already know that date for sure, that they announce everything on one day, whereas Cedar Fair likes to spread it out amongst different days. So it'll be interesting to see what Cedar Fair Park announces first. So we might do a few more of these episodes. We'll see. Also on Uncut this week, you will see some in-depth discussion on Valraven at Cedar Point, and even some in-depth discussion on these other Cedar Fair things and on what 2016's plan might actually overall look like for the chain. We kind of hinted at it here and there this episode, but make sure you check out Uncut this week as well. And, of course, always subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get the latest information on all the great things that we do. We've been posting a ton of videos lately, so thank you once again for supporting those things as well. So I think that wraps it up for us here this evening. Of course, I am Andrew Barczyk from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm Dwayne Sponseller from Parkersburg, West Virginia. And as always, may the Q lines be always in your favor.
And right on, Ride Warriors.